be read a second time. Debate is open. Councillor Adana Joseph Wallace. Sorry.
Right. Thank you kindly, Mr. Presiding Officer. Good afternoon, members of the Assembly, persons in the gallery, Tobago at large. Today I rise to speak in support of the proposed Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. And in furtherance of this support, I ask this House to consider two words: responsibility and authority. Now, Mr. Presiding Officer, those two words are at the forefront of this bill: responsibility and authority, because this bill is not simply a proposed piece of legislation. It is a public illustration of the fact that the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility, but it does not have authority. Mr. Presiding Officer, with your permission, I will address each word in turn. And I will sometimes be slipping in teacher mode somewhat, because it is important that the people of Tobago understand and appreciate the facts and the law in relation to this institution called the Tobago House of Assembly. And it is important that the people of Tobago understand the Tobago House of Assembly's role in the context of governance in this unitary state called Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, my colleagues here, members of the gallery, I will begin with the word responsibility. And responsibility means being accountable. Responsibility also means being in charge of duties. Responsibility includes consequences. I will address three spheres of responsibility found in the Tobago House of Assembly Act. And the first sphere relates to the formulation and execution of policies relating to Tobago for matters related to, for example, revenue collection, state lands and buildings, tourism, culture, community development, agriculture and fisheries, to name a few. And we refer to these as the fifth schedule responsibilities, and we say these are within the remit of the Tobago House of Assembly. Now, the second sphere of responsibility is those to be delivered or performed in Tobago by a state authority. And these responsibilities may be undertaken by the Tobago House of Assembly only if there is a memorandum of understanding between the Assembly and the state enterprise or statutory authority. So regarding these, the Assembly may act as an agent for the state or the state authority. But there's a third sphere, and this sphere remains within the exclusive ambit of the central government. And I want Tobago to pay attention to this sphere, because it is crucial in understanding responsibility and authority. And this sphere includes responsibility for matters relating to the President, national security, that means the TTPS, the Coast Guard, for example, foreign affairs, and the judiciary. And we find those responsibilities delineated in the sixth schedule. Now, Mr. Presiding Officer, it is indisputable that the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility. Whether it is responsibility, as we saw in the Tobago House of Assembly against Mentor Melville, where the court found that all of the state's land in Tobago, except for the President and Prime Minister's official residences, were vested in the Tobago House of Assembly. So this meant that the Tobago House of Assembly could mandate that the defendant be removed from government quarters. Or it could be those fifth schedule responsibilities. And we saw the recognition of fifth schedule responsibility in Barry Lazo and another against the Tobago House of Assembly, Pigeon Point Heritage Park Limited, and the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I know by now this case is not unfamiliar to anyone in this room or perhaps anyone in Tobago, because this case has re-emerged to the forefront of our collective consciousness, given the recent unfortunate events at Pigeon Point. But, Mr. Presiding Officer, in that case, the court determined that, among other things, since it was the Tobago House of Assembly that had the responsibility to formulate and implement tourism policy in Tobago, and since the Tobago House of Assembly had exercised sufficient control over the use of the park and the adjacent water, the fact that the Tobago House of Assembly had delegated the day-to-day management of the Pigeon Point Beach facility to the Pigeon Point Heritage Park Board had not absolved the Tobago House of Assembly of its responsibility and liability. And I want us to note the words the court used there. The responsibility came with liability, because there were consequences attached to that responsibility. But, Mr. Presiding Officer, there is a missing ingredient in this narrative, and it is that of authority. Because time and time again, the Tobago House of Assembly has been put in its place, so to speak, that the authority associated with the governance in this Westminster-based system resides solely at the center, resides in Trinidad. And in the Tobago House of Assembly against the Attorney General on the construction of Section 25 of the THA Act and Fifth Schedule in relation to Section 75 of the Constitution, and that case dealt with the reforestation program in Tobago, the government of the day argued that the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility, not authority. And those are not my words. Those are the words used in the court. And interestingly enough, Madam Justice Kangaloo concurred. She agreed with the government's position that the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility, not authority. So what then is authority? When we consider authority, we refer to legitimate power. Authority refers to control. Authority refers to command. And according to the Cambridge Dictionary, authority encompasses the ability, and listen carefully, to influence behavior, to enforce laws. And this begs the question, does the Tobago House of Assembly have authority in concert with responsibility? Because I've spoken at length about responsibility. The THA Act speaks about responsibility. The court has interpreted that the Tobago House of Assembly Act grants responsibility. But what about authority? And the answer is an emphatic no. First, the Tobago House of Assembly cannot make laws. Parliament is the only duly authorized body to make law in Trinidad and Tobago. Remember I said authority has to deal with legitimate power. So the law says that Parliament is the lawmaking organ. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, while we stand here and debate this bill, the law itself requires that bills adopted by this House must be forwarded to the Secretary of the Cabinet with a request that it be introduced to the Parliament. And it is the Cabinet that decides whether the Tobago House of Assembly's bill will be introduced to the Parliament for consideration. Again, nowhere in that do you see the Tobago House of Assembly having any responsibility or even authority. And it is the Parliament which will decide whether this bill will become law through its vote. Again, the Tobago House of Assembly has no responsibility there, nor does it have any authority. Neither the Chief Secretary or any member of the Assembly here is a member of Cabinet. Neither the Chief Secretary nor any member of the Assembly here is a member of Parliament. No one here, whether they're here today or any at all in this chamber, has authority over anything over there on the other island in Trinidad. And that is a fact. No one here has authority over any part of the process that I just outlined for making laws, and it's over there. That is also a fact. And Mr. Presiding Officer, I have seen some reporting in the space from some who are calling for a ban here, a ban there, a ban everywhere, as though they were not themselves cloaked in the authority here and over there and able to do all the things they are now calling for. But, Mr. Presiding Officer, every single member of this House has clean hands with regard to the failure of the first iteration of the Marine Parks Bill. We did not constitute a majority here when the bill was laid, and we definitely were not a majority over there when the bill was sent to Cabinet and the request for it to be made law was made. So perhaps it may be prudent in those circumstances for some of those with pretensively short memories, whose hands may not be so clean, in seeing the first iteration of this bill being made law, to be quiet, or instead to offer a prayer, asking for forgiveness for failing the people of Tobago and the users of marine spaces in Tobago by rubbishing this bill. And these are facts. These are matters of public record. I'm not making this up. This is not a story. Mr. Presiding Officer, the second matter is national security. And national security includes police, Coast Guard, Army, any sort of armed forces responsible for the enforcement of law. And not one entity under national security is the Tobago House of Assembly's responsibility and authority. Not one. National security is the sixth schedule responsibility. The Tobago House of Assembly has no responsibility over the TTPS. The Tobago House of Assembly has no authority over the Coast Guard. And earlier today in his presentation, the Chief Secretary went through great pains to make us aware of those times when the Tobago House of Assembly, in relation to management and security of Pigeon Point Marine Park, has sought the police's intervention. It is not our authority. We have no authority over the TTPS. So in this regard, it means that the Tobago House of Assembly has no authority over the enforcement of law. All of those are national security issues. In fact, if we want to be very practical about it, not so long ago the TTPS was running into the homes of some of us here. To use the words of member for Roxborough Argyle when he said they were there digging up in people's panty drawer. So we definitely do not have responsibility for and authority over the TTPS. But I want people to understand that in the present legal construct, the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility. The Tobago House of Assembly does not have authority. The Tobago House of Assembly, on the basis of that responsibility, has done every single thing reasonably within its responsibility to take reasonable care for marine spaces and users of marine spaces under its purview. So in the wake of the Barry Lazo case, the Tobago House of Assembly, through the Pigeon Point Heritage Park Management Company, erected signs prominently displayed throughout the park. And these signs communicate the prohibition of motorized crafts such as jet skis from the park. The Tobago House of Assembly also placed buoys to demarcate the bathing area and create a buffer zone between bathers and seafaring vessels and craft. The Tobago House of Assembly crafted and debated legislation which it forwarded to Cabinet to be brought before Parliament, which is the first version of this bill. That the bill was never brought to Parliament is no fault of the Tobago House of Assembly. Because, as I said before, the Tobago House of Assembly has no authority over cabinet and or parliament. Neither of those entities is in our lane. The Tobago House of Assembly, within the ambit of the responsibility that it does have, took every lawful step available to ensure reasonable care to users of Pigeon Point. And the Tobago House of Assembly, in that regard, has acted consistent with the Honorable Court's guidance of the requirements of reasonable care in Barry Lazo. The Tobago House of Assembly discharged its lawful responsibility, but the Tobago House of Assembly cannot make law, and the Tobago House of Assembly cannot be expected to make law. The Tobago House of Assembly can only make policy. And the Chief Secretary, in his contribution earlier today, detailed all of the policies and the rules instituted by the Tobago House of Assembly in relation to the Marine Park. But the Tobago House of Assembly cannot demand that its policy be enforced by law. It cannot demand it of those 6 scheduled entities under national security. But, nevertheless, we are here again. And this bill is an attempt to put the authority for conservation, designation, and protection of and in marine parks into the Tobago House of Assembly's hands, not in the hands of Cabinet in Trinidad. And this bill is an attempt to put authority for the regulatory framework squarely in the Tobago House of Assembly's hands, so that we don't have to wait on Cabinet or Parliament or a minister in Trinidad. This bill attempts to give the Tobago House of Assembly the authority to make regulations, not just policy, for marine spaces in Tobago. The proposed Section 50 of this bill will authorize the Secretary to make regulations, breaches of which will be an offense punishable by law. This bill is an attempt to create criminal offenses relative to the use of the marine park. Offenses governing noise, navigation, access, anchoring, removal of flora and fauna, carrying capacity, and even which types of vessels may be allowed to traverse the space. This bill is an attempt to provide a system of enforcement which includes but does not rely on the 6 scheduled actors, such as the TTPS and Coast Guard. Instead, we intend and hope to rely on inspectors, reef patrol personnel, marine park manager, fisheries officers, game wardens. All of these will have the authority of enforcement under this act. This bill is an attempt to give effect to powers of search, seizure, and arrest. And this bill will attempt to ensure compliance in marine parks. But again, because I'm not going to fool you, we still have to rely on Cabinet. And again, we will still have to rely on the Parliament. But we stand here and we hope that the bill we debate here today will become law tomorrow, a process the Tobago House of Assembly has zero authority over. And all of this forces me to introduce a third word, and that word is autonomy. And I know some people in this space will say, oh gosh, autonomy again. Ain't for talk about autonomy, everything is autonomy. Autonomy is this administration's plaster for every sore. But if we are honest, if we are really and truly honest, in the context of Tobago, everything, every single thing is in fact and in law a matter of autonomy. In the same reforestation program case that I mentioned earlier with Madam Justice Kangaloo, Justice Kangaloo opined in her decision that on a holistic reading of the Tobago House of Assembly Act, with consideration of the object and purpose of the Assembly, to interpret the Tobago House of Assembly Act as providing autonomy would be to invite confusion in the management of national affairs. Does that sound like authority? Does that sound like autonomy? No. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, prior to the Trinidad and Tobago Act 1887, the Order in Council 1888, resulting in the union of two islands, Trinidad and Tobago, before Trinidad even had a government, because Tobago is was an older colony than Trinidad, and before the British decided that it would be more administratively convenient to employ a system of crown colony governance in Tobago, Tobago was governed by a House of Assembly, a duly elected body that served in a legislative capacity, and it managed the island's affairs. But today's modern Tobago House of Assembly, 2 THA Acts later, still lacks the authority of even its colonial antecedent. And that, Mr. Presiding Officer, and members of the Assembly, and all of you sitting in the gallery, and all of Tobago listening, is the truth of our complaint. It is the substance of our complaint. Because the current constitutional arrangement in this unitary state cannot at all be described, cannot even be described, as a retrograde step, because we are seemingly in even a worse legal position as an island and as a Tobago House of Assembly than we were in 1768. Bear in mind, we are in 2026. So the Constitution recognizes the existence of the Tobago House of Assembly based on terms and conditions as may be prescribed. The Tobago House of Assembly Act prescribes that the Tobago House of Assembly is responsible for the formulation and implementation of policy. But the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the supreme law of the land, states that it is the Cabinet that is responsible for the direction and control of Trinidad and Tobago. The Tobago House of Assembly Act prescribes that the Tobago House of Assembly may propose and adopt a bill. But the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the supreme law of the land, states that it is Parliament that may make laws for the peace, order, and good government of Trinidad and Tobago. So, as long as this continues to be the constitutional arrangement in Trinidad and Tobago, the Tobago House of Assembly will be no more than a decentralized outpost. But this bill that we are debating here today, is the first and necessary step in our transition from being mere agents of the state to becoming authorities of our own waters. This bill is the first and necessary step in our transition from legal fiction of authority to the truth of legal authority to enforce. This bill is the first and necessary step in our responsibility to protect the environment, but being matched by a legislative authority to punish those who try to destroy it. This bill is the first and necessary step in our demand for the authority to match the responsibility. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, members of the Assembly, Tobago, persons in the gallery, let us endeavor to pass this bill today as a declaration that Tobago is serious about the full transfer of authority, secured not just in our hearts, but in the law of the land. And this bill is the first brick in the wall of autonomy. Because, Mr. Presiding Officer, members of the Assembly, persons in the gallery, all of Tobago, responsibility without authority could never, ever, ever equate to autonomy. And we will not rest without it. Mr. Presiding Officer. I so move.
Member for Bethel New Grange, you may now join the debate.
Pleasant good afternoon, Mr. Presiding Officer, all other members of this Honorable House, Chief Secretary, members in the gallery, members online, and a special good afternoon to my electoral district of Bethel New Grange. Mr. Presiding Officer, please allow me to stand on 42-7. Mr. Presiding Officer, I rise with gratitude for the opportunity to bring before this Honorable House a matter of profound importance, not merely to the portfolio I hold, but to the identity, the economy, and the long-term future of this island that we are privileged to serve. I want to bring to you, Mr. Presiding Officer, not with a policy paper or a secretarial brief. I want to begin with a simple truth. Tobago is the sea is Tobago, and Tobago is we. For every Tobagonian who has ever pushed a pirogue off Boko Bay at first light, who has taken their grandchildren to the Nyland Pool on a Sunday afternoon, who has watched visitors arrive at Pigeon Point and leave in love with this place, you understand that our relationship with the nearshore waters of Southwest Tobago is not administrative, it is cultural, it is who we are. And yet, Mr. Presiding Officer, that relationship has far too long been unguarded. The resource that defines us has for too long been left without the stewardship it deserves. That is what I am here to address today. Before I turn to the present, however, I want to take this House and the people of Tobago who are watching on a brief journey through time. Because to understand where we are and why we must act decisively now, we must first understand how we arrive here. So, Presiding Officer, this island carries a remarkable and largely unsung distinction in the history of environmental stewardship. In 1776, 250 years ago, legislation was passed that established the Mainridge Forest Reserve. It was the first law anywhere in the Western world to protect a tropical forest for conservation purposes. But I want to be honest with this House about the origins of that decision, because the truth is instructive. It was not enacted by Tobagonians. It was championed by a British member of Parliament named Simon Jennings, a man who, by all accounts, was concerned for the economic environment of Tobago. He was persuaded by the work of his scientist friend, Stephen Hales, that protecting the forest on the ridge would protect the island's freshwater sources and therefore the sugar plantation that depended on them. It was at its roots an economic argument. But I want to be honest with this House about the origins of that decision, because the truth is instructive. It was not enacted by Tobagonians. It was championed by a British member of Parliament named Simon Jennings, a man who, by all accounts, was concerned for the economic environment of Tobago. He was persuaded by the work of his scientist friend, Stephen Hales, that protecting the forest on the ridge would protect the island's freshwater sources and therefore the sugar plantation that depended on them. It was at its roots an economic argument. And yet, whatever the intent, we have inherited an extraordinary gift, 250 years of protected ridge forest, a living watershed that has sustained the island's communities, buffered its coastlines, and fed the very marine waters we are discussing today. A ridge-to-reef continuum that scientists now recognize as the ecological foundation of the health of the Boko Reef Marine Park itself. I spent the formative years of my career as a forest officer in the reserve, walking the main ridge, measuring the trees, studied the watershed, and came to understanding in practical terms what it means to commit to protecting a living system and what it costs ecologically and economically when the commitment is not adequately resourced and sustained. That is the lesson I carry into this portfolio and that legacy of environmental stewardship. However pragmatically it began, must now be extended deliberately and ambiguously to the sea. So, Presiding Officer, I should note for this House that the Division of Environment, Climate Resilience and Energy is a new division. The portfolio of marine resources included the Buccoo Reef Marine Park, was previously held within the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development. Several important initiatives were already in motion when the division was recently constituted, and we have inherited them with full commitment to their completion. I wish to publicly acknowledge the work that commenced under the Division of Food Security and to assure this House that we will continue these initiatives in close collaboration with our colleagues at the division. The Buccoo Reef Marine Park was designated a restricted area in 1973 under the Marine Areas Preservation and Enhancement Act. The reef complex, spanning approximately 7 kilometers square off the southwest coast, was already recognized as unique in the Caribbean, in the Eastern Caribbean. A contiguous system of coral reef, seagrass beds, and mangrove forests of extraordinary biological richness, home to approximately 70 species of tropical fish and over 40 coral species, including endangered and vulnerable species. A living treasury recognized internationally through the designation as a Ramsar wetland of international importance in 2005. The Act of 1973 was clear in its intent. No person shall enter, operate a vessel within, remove flora or fauna from, or otherwise interfere with a restricted area without written permission. The legal framework exists from the outset. What followed, however, was a 53-year struggle to give the framework operational life. In 1994 and 1995, the Institute of Marine Affairs prepared a management plan for the Buccoo Reef Marine Park on behalf of the Tobago House of Assembly, comprehensive, evidence-based. It called for the demarcation of the reef, the installation of permanent moorings, the appointment of a marine park manager, and critically, the introduction of a permit system for those wishing to undertake approved activities in the park. The plan was accepted in principle. Its implementation remained incomplete. A Buccoo Reef Management Committee was established in 2004, comprising government agencies, NGOs, fishing association, tour operators, the Coast Guard, and the Police Service. The committee developed a work program and attempted to fulfill its mandate. It ultimately collapsed, frustrated by a stalled process to designate the park as an environmentally sensitive area under the Environmental Management Act, and constrained by inadequate authority, resources, and institutional support. In 2015, a user policy for the Buccoo Reef Marine Park was produced, the most operational, complete management document the park had ever had. Fee structure, permit system, zones of use, enforcement protocol. A decade later, the policy has not been fully implemented. A draft Tobago Marine Bill was prepared in 2020, legislation that would give the regulatory framework the statutory authority it has always needed. Mr. Presiding Officer, I am pleased to inform this House that our new division, which you just heard from, of Legal Affairs is now moving with urgency to advance that bill. And I take this opportunity to appeal directly to the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We need the support of the National Parliament to facilitate the expeditious passage of this historic legislation. The Tobago Marine Park Bill is not just Tobago's concern. It is a matter of national environmental policy, of international treaty obligations. We ask for your partnership in bringing it into law. Mr. Presiding Officer, I recite the history not to assign fault. Governance is complex. Institutional memory is fragile. Resources are always finite. I recite it because we must look honestly at what 53 years of incomplete implementation has produced in ecological terms. What it has produced is this. Coral cover at the Buccoo Reef Marine Park has declined dramatically since the park declaration. The 2010 bleaching event alone resulted in the 2010 bleaching event alone resulted in the average loss of approximately 50% of corals across most sites in Tobago. Coral cover falling from around 30% to approximately 15% within a single year, with little recovery in the years that followed. Then came the bleaching event of 2024, the worst on record for these waters. Sea surface temperatures reach up to 33 degrees Celsius at certain sites. The IMA Rapid Reef Assessment across 8 sites found thermal stress impacts, bleaching, paling, and recent mortality of up to 78.6% at the Buccoo Reef Marine Park itself. 7 out of 8 assessed sites shows greater than 50% impact. The large, slow-growing reef builder species, the mountainous star coral, the boulder brain coral, colonies that have been growing in these waters for decades, perhaps for centuries, were hit hardest. These are not species that recover in 5 years. And hovering over all this, like a shadow over a patient already under stress, is the threat of stony coral tissue loss disease, the most lethal coral disease ever recorded in the Caribbean, now confirmed in Grenada and the islands immediately to our south, a disease that has spread to more than 28 countries and territories across the region, a disease that can be transmitted through water columns or a diver's equipment or in a vessel bilge water. Tobago is in its path. A properly regulated park with documented operators, enforced protocol, and disinfection standards is part of our first line of biosecurity defense. The reef declared a protected area in 1973 is under extraordinary stress, ecological stress, and climate stress, and the accumulated stress of decades of inadequately regulated human activity in its waters. The two are not separate problems, they are one. Mr. Presiding Officer, the reef supports a vibrant marine tourism industry, reef boat tours, glass bottom boat excursion, snorkeling trips to the coral gardens, nylon pool visits, barbecue trips to no man's land. These are legitimate enterprise operated by Tobagonians, many from families that have worked these waters for generations. They are our partners in managing this space, and I want that to be clearly understood. A well-regulated, well-managed Buccoo Reef Marine Park is not a threat to their livelihood. It is the foundation of their livelihoods. A healthy reef attracts visitors. A properly managed park with a transparent ring-fence user fee system generates revenue to fund its own protection. These operators have as much to gain from the proper governance as anyone else, and most of them know it. I have spoken with many operators in this space. What I hear most consistently is not resistance to regulation. Actually, what I hear is frustration with its absence. Frustration that unregistered vessels undercut legitimate operators. Frustration that overcrowded boats with inadequate safety equipment create incidents that tarnish the entire sector. Frustration that unauthorized operations conducted after the park's closing hours without oversight or accountability. expose everyone who works these waters to reputational and physical risk. These operators want a level playing field. A permit system gives them exactly that. But I would be less than direct, Mr. Presiding Officer, if I did not also acknowledge that there is a smaller category of actor who has chosen to exploit the absence of a regulatory framework, operating vessels that are unregistered, overloaded, or unsafe, treating park rules as optional, disregarding the closing hours of the park entirely. To the category of operator, I say clearly, this Assembly is putting in place the framework to bring these practices to an end, not punitively, but firmly and in the public interest. Mr. Presiding Officer, I want to turn to a phenomenon that is simultaneously a testament of Tobagonian enterprise and a governance challenge that can no longer be deferred. No Man's Land, to a lesser extent the Nyland Pool, have become sites of a remarkable informal economy. Vendors, food operators, water sports activity, novel recreation service that did not exist a decade ago. Tobagonians have looked at the natural resources on their doorstep and found creative ways to generate income for them. I celebrate that spirit. The creativity of our people in building livelihoods from the sea should not be suppressed. It should be harnessed and formalized. But, Mr. Presiding Officer, there is currently no framework with which these activities operate. No license, no safety standards, no environmental consideration of how much activity or how much these activities can harm the fragile ecosystem. No structure to ensure that the very resource of which this enterprise depends is not consumed by their activity itself. What is needed is not the removal of these activities. What is needed is the institutional framework that gives them the legitimacy, longevity, and a stake in the health of the environment they depend on. The Tobago House of Assembly intends to build that framework and will do so in partnership with the people who are already operating in the space. Mr. Presiding Officer, I will not dwell at length on what many of us already know, that the absence of a regulated access framework for the park and its adjoining waters has, over time, created conditions that raise serious concern about public safety and the quality of the visitor experience. When there is no permit system, no authorized operator list, no enforced standard, no consistent presence of authority, a vacuum is created. And as any student of governance understands, vacuums are filled, not always in the way that serve the public interest. I say this, Mr. Presiding Officer, not to alarm, but to be honest. The restoration of proper governance to this space is inseparable from the restoration of safety, order, and dignity to Tobago's most valid natural environment. These are not separate objectives, they are the same. So, Presiding Officer, I must address directly the matter that has brought the most recent and most intense public attention to the governance of this space, the operation of personal watercraft, commonly known as jet skis, in the waters adjacent to Pigeon Point Heritage Park and the Boko Reef Marine Park. This is not a new issue. It did not emerge recently, and that is precisely the point I want this House to understand clearly. For years, the operation of personal watercrafts in the nearshore waters of Southwest Tobago has taken place in the absence of a comprehensive regulatory framework specific to this environment. There has been no binding standard governing operator certification in the context of the marine park, no defined operating corridors that respect the park ecological zones, no speed restriction in areas of high visitor activity, and no formal permit condition requiring compliance with marine park rules. The consequences of that regulatory gap has been felt underwater. Conflict between personal watercraft operators and reef boat tours. Near misses reported by witnesses, but for which no formal response was received from the regulatory system that did not yet exist. A pattern of escalating incident that those who work these waters, our patrol officers, our reef tow operators, our fishermen have documented and communicated with growing concern. So, Presiding Officer, those concerns are valid and they point to a single clear conclusion. What is needed is a system, not the conduct of any individual, not the character of any community, a comprehensive regulatory framework with the institutional capacity to implement and enforce it consistently is what has been absent and what we are now committed to putting in place. Mr. Presiding Officer, on the 8th of April 2026, a child lost her life in the waters near Pigeon Point. Her name was Angelica. I will not attempt to characterize the specific circumstances of that tragedy in this chamber. There are proper process underway, and they must be allowed to proceed without interference or prejudice. What I will say, and what I believe every secretary around this table, every assembly member in this chamber, and every Tobagonian watching today already feels, is that a life lost in these waters demands more than condolences. It demands a structural, institutional response that this division, this assembly, and this government are now committed to delivering. We owe that to Angelica. We owe it because persons who will enter those waters after her. I want to say emphatically that a regulated marine park would not be a less attractive destination for visitors. I want to put that notion to a permanent rest. The finest marine destinations in the Caribbean are those that command premium visitor spend, attract high-value, low-impact tourism, and are featured in international travel publications as must-visit experiences. Without exception, well-managed Soufriere in St. Lucia, Holchan in Belize, and of course, Bonaire. These places have demonstrated that governance does not diminish a destination, it elevates it. The Buccoo Reef Marine Park, with clear permit conditions, regulated operators, enforced standards, a healthy coral reef, and a professional visitor experience, is not a constrained tourism product. It is a world-class one. Our division and the Division of Tourism, we are pursuing the same goal by complementary means. And I look forward to the continuing and deepening collaboration between both divisions, including, in due course, the formalization of the collaboration through the appropriate interdivisional instruments as we work together to elevate the Southwest Tobago nearshore as a destination of genuine international distinction. Mr. Presiding Officer, let me be clear about what my division is putting in place. The governance framework I'm about to describe was in active preparation before recent events. Some elements were initiated under the previous Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development, and we have inherited and have advanced them. I acknowledge that continuity of effort, and I am affirming our commitment to completing what was started. Firstly, the reconstituted Buccoo Reef Management Committee. The committee will be reestablished in a more streamlined form than its predecessor, not a large, unwieldy body attempting to manage every aspect of the park simultaneously, but a focused, empowered committee with clearly defined and time-bound objective, the implementation of a permit system, the operationalization of an enforcement coordination framework, and the advancement of a co-management governance entity. The right people with the right mandate working to specific deliverables within specific time frame. Its inaugural meeting is imminent. Second, a comprehensive permit and user fee system for Buccoo Reef Marine Park. Every commercial vessel operating within the park waters, every operator offering tours, water sports, or other services, registered, documented, compliant. contributing financially to the sustainability of the resource they depend upon. The model is proven. Soufriere, as I mentioned before, Holchan have both demonstrated that a well-designed, user-free system can fund a park operational cost within a few years if properly implemented. We will build our version of that model calibrated to Tobago's scale and context, and we will implement it. Thirdly, the interagency enforcement coordination. No permit system functions without the capacity to enforce it. We are formalizing coordination between the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Maritime Service Division, TIMA, the Defense Force, and the Division of Public Safety and Security to come with Mr. Tate, building the interagency framework that provides our patrol operations with clear authority and adequate support. One patrol vessel, one patrol captain, 4 reef patrol officers cannot adequately cover the entirety of the Book Reef Marine Park. Steps have been taken to augment that cadre on the reef. Fourthly, a ring-fence revenue mechanism, fees collected from permitted operators and visitors must be dedicated to the management of the park, specifically to enforcement, ecological monitoring, scientific partnerships, and operational infrastructure. Not absorbed into the general fund, not competed away by other priorities, a transparent, dedicated revenue stream that will appropriately bridge funding can make this park financially self-sustaining. The evidence from comparable parks suggests that it is achievable within a few years of proper implementation. Madam Secretary of Finance, we need your intervention here. Fifthly, the Tobago Marine Resource Complex. Mr. Presiding Officer, I want to speak briefly about a vision that is in preparation for which the Exec Council note will be forthcoming. Most are hearing of it for the first time. The department has identified a site for a dedicated facility that will serve as an operational, scientific, and interpretive home to the Department of Marine Resources, a marine resource complex, housing park management operation, a visitor interpretive center, collaborative research.
Member, you have 3 minutes of speaking time remaining.
Okay. Housing park management operation, a visitor interpretation center, collaborative research facility in partnership with the Institution of Marine Affairs, slipway access for patrols and research vessels, and institutional space for co-management meetings and public engagement and training. This is a physical expression of our commitment, the place where the best marine protected area in the Caribbean is managed, studied, and celebrated. The site has been identified. The proposal is on the way. The Exec Council note will follow. I'm asking this Assembly today to understand this facility as integral to the vision and to support accordingly. we are in a position we are in a position of far greater knowledge and far greater obligation. We know what a declining reef costs in biodiversity, in fisheries, in tourism revenue. In the lived experience of Tobagonians, we know what a well-managed marine protected area can become. We have the science, we have the comparators, we have the legal framework, we have a new division with a dedicated mandate, and we are building a committed team that we need. What we need is the institutional will, the resources, the legislation, and the sustained political commitment to see this through. I believe we can. I believe we can. I believe the will is in this chamber. I believe the people of Tobago are ready to see it done. Let us save the Book Reef. Mr. Presiding Officer, I thank you, and I commend this matter of serious and urgent consideration to this Honorable House.
Member for Bukumong Pleasant, you may now join the debate.
Mr. Presiding Officer, in keeping with Standing Order 42.7, I seek leave to read extracts from my presentation. Mr. Presiding Officer, members of this Honorable House, permit me to invite us to observe a moment of silence for all the lives that have been lost in the Bukom Marine Park due to the misuse of the park over the years. Thank you. I must first take the opportunity to thank the people of the best electoral district in the 15th electoral district of Tobago, and that is the people of Boku-Canaan and Mount Pleasant, for the responsibility they have given me to voice their opinion in this honorable house. Mr. Presiding Officer, I rise today in unwavering support for this bill, because what it stands for is an opportunity for us to protect one of our most valuable assets as Tobagonians. This is a defining moment, Mr. Presiding Officer, for Tobago. It is a declaration of intent. It is a statement about who we are, what we value, and the kind of future we are prepared to build. Mr. Presiding Officer, since 1973, we have recognized the importance of the Bukom Marine Park. We have studied it, we have spoken about it. But today, this bill does what history could not. It gives us the authority, the structure, and the power to act decisively. This bill is about protection. It is about structure. It is about opportunity. And above all, it is about people. As I stand in this honorable house, I speak not in abstraction. I speak directly to the young men and young women across Tobago, the boat operators, the tour guides, the jet ski operators, the divers, the entrepreneurs, those who rise early in the morning, who labor under the sun, who engage with visitors from across the world, and who have carved out livelihoods on the strength of our sea. This bill is about you. It is about protecting what you have built with your own hands and ensuring that what you build today will last for generations to come. Mr. Presiding Officer, for far too long, our marine space has been driven by passion without the necessary framework, by enterprise without the full support of structure, by hustle without the protection of policy. And while that spirit has carried us for far too long, it has also exposed us to risk. Because the harsh reality is, passion without structure can only take you so far. But structure transforms potential into permanence. And that is what this bill does. It brings order to opportunity. This bill establishes what we have long needed as an island: a clear, enforceable, modern framework for our marine parks. Mr. Presiding Officer, this bill gives the authority clearer alignment to the Executive Council policy, ensuring that governance is not fragmented, but unified and strategic. It introduces stronger penalties. It allows emergency closures and restriction. It expands the regulation to include modern realities. It strengthens safety controls, and it reinforces accountability measures. It establishes a system where you must be registered, you must be trained, you must be insured, and you must operate responsibly. And this is not done to restrict you, but to elevate you, not to exclude you, but to empower you, not to burden them, but to protect them. Because when you are properly regulated, you are no longer seen as an informal operator. You become a recognized contributor to Tobago's economy. You become bankable. You become insurable. You become scalable. Mr. Presiding Officer, This is what good governance looks like. This is what responsible leadership demands. This is what Tobago deserves. And as the Chief Secretary indicated, if it was not achievable when family was together, it is better achievable when you have friends in Trinidad. Mr. Presiding Officer, let us be clear. This bill does not exist to stifle opportunity. It exists to protect it. Let me ground something every Tobagonian understands. On land, we do not allow chaos to operate and dictate how we operate. We do not allow anyone to simply get into a vehicle and drive as they please. We have laws, we have licensings, we have insurance requirements, we have speed limits, we have enforcement mechanisms. Why? Because we understand that life is too valuable to be left unprotected. So I ask this Honorable House, and indeed the people of Tobago, how can we accept a reality where on land we enforce discipline, but in our marine space, where the risks are just as real, we leave things to chance? The truth is simple and undeniable. Where there is an absence of rules and regulation, chaos will always follow. And we have seen that chaos, Mr. Presiding Officer. We have felt the consequences of that. We have experienced moments that have shaken our communities, that has left families grieving, that have reminded us painfully that inaction has a cost. This bill is our response to that reality. This bill ensures that our waters are no longer left to chance. It ensures that our marine space is governed by law, order, and responsibility. Mr. Presiding Officer, when we examine this bill, we see a carefully constructed framework, one that balances economic activity with environmental protection and opportunity with accountability. Clause by clause, it strengthens the very backbone of Tobago's marine economy. It introduces a permit system. It mandates insurance coverage. It enforces safe navigation practices and no-wake zones. It regulates marine sports and commercial activities. This is not random regulation. This is strategic governance. And what does that governance produce? It produces confidence. It produces stability, and it produces growth. Mr. Presiding Officer, let us be very clear. Investments follow order. Financial institutions invest where systems are clear. Insurance companies engage where risks are managed. Tourists spend where they feel safe. And international partners collaborate where governance exists. So when we regulate this space, we are not closing doors, we are opening pathways to every Tobagonian. We are positioning Tobago not just as a destination, but as a world-class marine tourism jurisdiction. Mr. Presiding Officer, this bill protects more than coral reefs. It protects livelihoods. Because every damaged reef is not just environmental loss, it is an economic one. And that is why the Chief Secretary can boast that Speyside may be better than Buko. But that is a conversation for another time. You see, Mr. Presiding Officer, every unsafe incident is not just a tragedy, it is a reputational setback. Every unregulated operation is not just a risk, it is a threat to the collective future of our entire tourism sector. The Buko Reef, the Nylon Pool, the Bonaccord Lagoon, these are not just beautiful spaces. These are engines of economic activity. These are sources of income for hundreds of families on this island. They are a symbol of Tobago's global appeal. And if we fail to protect them, we fail our people. Mr. Presiding Officer, to the young operators of Tobago, I say this with clarity and conviction. We see you, we respect your hustle, we value your contribution, and we are committed to your success. But success must be sustainable. Success must be structured, and success must be protected. This bill is not designed to work against you. It is designed to work for you. Because when you operate within a regulated system, you gain legitimacy, you gain protection, you gain access to financing, you gain opportunities for expansion. And we are not taking away your independence. We are giving you a foundation to grow, because this is a caring government. Mr. Presiding Officer, this is about building a Tobago where ambition is supported by policy, where a young man with one single jet ski or one single boat can earn an income and turn those into a fleet, where a small operator can evolve into a recognized tourism brand, where our marine industry can compete with the very best in the Caribbean and beyond. This is about transforming informal activity into formal prosperity. Mr. Presiding Officer, as Secretary for the Division of Youth Empowerment and Sport, I take particular pride in what this bill represents, because true youth empowerment is not simply about creating opportunities. It is about building systems where those opportunities can thrive, expand, and endure. This bill is a blueprint for what that empowerment stands for. It says to our young people, we are not just giving you a space, we are giving you structure within that space. Mr. Presiding Officer, today, we are not simply debating legislation. We are making a decision about the kind of Tobago we want to leave behind. We are drawing a line firmly and decisively. We are saying no more disorder, no more neglect, and no more waiting until tragedy strikes. I speak to you now as a citizen of the greatest island on the planet. This is about life. This is about families. This is about our communities. This is about ensuring that no joy-filled day on our waters ever ends in sorrow again. No mother should have to weep because her child went to the sea and did not return. No father should have to carry that burden. No community should have to gather and grieve again because we have failed to act. Let this law stand as a covenant, a shared commitment between government and the people of Tobago, that we will protect each other, we will respect the sea, we will operate responsibly, that we will choose discipline over disorder and life over negligence. Because the truth is, Mr. Presiding Officer, the very waters that sustain us, that feed us, that attract the world to our shores, are the same waters that demand our respect. And if we fail to govern wisely, we will pay the ultimate price. But today, under the leadership of Fally Chavez Augustine, we choose differently. Today we choose responsibility, we choose structure, and we choose to protect the lives of every Tobagonian on this island. As we move forward together, as one Tobago, united in purpose, let us remember that leadership is not tested when it is easy, but when it is necessary. And history will not judge us by what we debated here today, but what we decided to do. So let us act in a way that honors that responsibility. Let us protect what we have been blessed with. Let us build systems that will outlive us. Let us secure a future that our children can be proud of. And in doing so, we will continue working together to build the greatest little island on the planet. With that, I thank you.
Member for Bon Accord, Crown Point, you may now join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Good afternoon, the Chief Secretary, to all Assembly members, to the members of the gallery, and to all online viewers. Pleasant good afternoon. Let me also take the time to say thank you to the well-esteemed and standalone district of Bonaccord Crown Point, which gave me the opportunity to represent them here in this August House. Pleasant good afternoon to Bonaccord Crown Point. Mr. Speaker, allow me to stand in order. 42-7. Mr. Presiding Officer, I rise today to lend my full support to this bill for the establishment and proper governance of marine parks in Tobago. But before I speak as a policymaker and an assembly member, allow me to speak as a Tobagonian, one who grew up in Bonaccord Crown Point, shaped by the rhythm of the sea and the life of our coastal community. One whose grandfather was a renowned fisherman throughout the villages in Tobago for many years. Mr. Presiding Officer, the beach was not a place we visited. It was a place we lived. It was where families gathered, where children played and learned responsibility, and where many of our young men and women earn an honest living. I grew up seeing fisher folks return with their catch, understanding that the sea provided, but also recognize that it demanded respect. And today, I cannot ignore what those same fisher folks are telling us. They are telling us that the sea is changing. They are telling us that the catches are not what they used to be. They are telling us that the pressures on our marine spaces from overuse, pollution, and unregulated activities are real issues. So this is not a conversation, or this is not just theoretical conversation. It is urgent, Mr. Presiding Officer. And before I continue, I must pause to give a testimony of my own self. Being from the area of Bonaccord Crown Point, in the 2011-2012, I was without a job, bills to pay, family to see and take care of. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to apply my trade on the beach. I became an operator on the reef boat. I was a hustler in Storby. I operated a reef boat as a captain without captain license. I would remember going to the backup pigeon point, pulling up my anchor, untie my boat, going down to Storby, anchor up, pick up passengers, go out to Boku Reef, enjoy the whole day in Island Pool. And these sites are sites to behold like no other. Now, I could understand the Chief Secretary saying Speyside, there's much more to see underwater right now at this present moment. But back then, it was unstoppable, this marine park. And, you know, it was something that we always do with the tourists because it's a livelihood. So we always take, before the sandbank that is in Island Pool now, that sandbank used to be after a past stop reef coming across Blue Hole. So you stop by the sandbank, then the tourists take pictures, then you go across the Blue Hole. We take a particular part because there are some starfish that is about this big, Mr. Presiding Officer. When you dive off the boat and you bring out them starfish, you know that where your tips coming from. So that livelihood was something that each beach operator, each boat operator know, hey, you see today, we're making this amount of money. Nobody couldn't count our money. It had no government to say they were 5% or 10%. This is all tax-free money that we used to make. I witnessed boatmen build houses, not one house, not two houses, build houses, build car rental businesses, build different businesses, become entrepreneurs off of the marine park, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Presiding Officer. So I want to be very clear. Supporting marine parks does not mean turning our backs on our communities. In fact, it must mean the opposite. It must mean strengthening them. When marine parks are properly established and managed, the benefits do not remain within the boundaries of a drawn map. They spill over into surrounding communities, and so everybody benefits. We have seen, even in our own context, how protected marine areas can revive ecosystems. When fish stocks are allowed to replenish in protected zones, they do not stay confined, they move outwards. They create what is known as a spillover effect, directly benefiting fisher folks and others operating just outside those zones. Communities around these areas begin to see increase in catch size, more stable livelihood, and a renewed sense of sustainability. But the benefit goes beyond fishing. Mr. Presiding Officer, let's just talk about tourism. Because tourism is the lifeblood of Tobago's economy. And I want to pause for a while, because I believe wherever you are placed, it didn't just end up there. I believe every secretary here was placed in this position for a particular purpose, and I believe through the guidance of God, the Honorable Chief Secretary saw it fitting to place me here, along with my secretary, Ms. Hackett. And I sat down and think, I said, boy, how come you put me here, boy? And then I got to realize he used brain. He take the brain and the person that know about the legislature and know about the whereabouts and ins and outs, and couple it with the person that have passion and the vision to see things move from one step to the other. And this is one of the reasons why we are here in this division. Sometimes, we will sit down on a daily basis, me and the secretary, and we talk about this tourism product that we're trying to build and this brand that we're trying to build and everything that we want to do for tourism. And we work seamlessly and we work hard. Sometimes we go home, we don't agree with each other, but she go wake me up early in the morning, she can say, what do you think? I think about it, and we go over it and we talk about it again. It is non-stop discussion in this office. Sometimes we leave late in the night discussing the different things. And we're working so much to bring the numbers up. And let me just give you a few of these numbers here. I'm going to give it from 2025, the first quarter of the year, 2025, in January, the number, and this is just in Pigeon Point. We've been talking about Storby, we've been talking about Bokoa, Mount Irving. Just in Pigeon Point area, Mr. Presiding Officer. In January 2025, we saw 15,905 persons. In 2026, we saw 17,286. In February, we saw 14,842. This is 2025. And in 2026, we saw 19,200. In March, we saw 20,717 persons. In March 2026, it dropped a little to 19,747. In April 2026, between the 1st of April to the 22nd, the numbers were 20,246. And April and finishes it, Mr. Presiding Officer. And it goes to show that the little work, once we put this effort in, we start increasing now and we've seen where the actual benefits of hard work is coming from, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Presiding Officer. Because tourism is such an important factor to us, visitors do not come to Tobago by accident. They come because of our reputation, our clean beaches, our vibrant reefs, our biodiversity, and the authenticity of our people, our culture, and our communities. We do not have to look far to see what is at stake or what is possible. Our own treasures, Boko Reef, the iconic Nyland Pool, and the rich marine ecosystem of the Speyside Reef already demonstrate both the value and the vulnerability of our marine spaces. Boko Reef and Nyland Pool continue to support livelihoods through tours, glass-bottom boats, other watercraft and water sports, and small businesses, directly benefiting surrounding communities like Boko, Canaan, Bonaccord, and Crum Point. Similarly, the reef of Speyside attracts divers from around the world, sustaining guest houses, tour operators, and local vendors. But we must also acknowledge that these areas are faced with pressures, overuse, environmental stress, and inconsistent management. With proper With properly structured marine parks, these same spaces can protect, enhance, and manage in ways that ensure long-term economic and environmental returns for the communities that depend on them and the island by extension. Mr. Presiding Officer, we need to ask ourselves the hard questions. What happens if we fail to protect these assets? What happens if our reef degrades? If our water becomes polluted? If marine life declines? And if we have no system in place to protect our visitors, like what happened and what recently transpired in Pigeon Point? I don't want to go into details of this because it's very heart-breaking when you have to deal with families that deal with loss, and when you have to be the bearer of these bad news to people. It's nothing that any one of us will even want to go through. You know, the afternoon of that accident, myself along with Secretary Hackett and Mr. Henry, Secretary Henry, with the technical advisors, we met at the Pigeon Point Jetty, and you know, almost everybody were in tears because we felt like if it was our own child that passed. Something that no one could imagine. And I'm going to give you this one little snippet. You know, one thing the mother said is that, you know, we travel all over the world. We're talking about tourism here, Mr. Presiding Officer. He said we travel all over the world. We go on vacation all over. The kids wanted to come to Tobago. They wanted to enjoy Tobago. They said, you know, it's Tobago right in the backyard. Let's go and have fun before school open. Let's cry them, you know. And she never thought that this could happen right in her backyard. And you know, sometimes when you hear these words and you think about what we're doing so hard, every day so hard, just trying to build this tourism, we have to remember, with all these regulations and these bills that we are trying to implement now, it is all for nothing, Mr. Presiding Officer, because at the end of the day, if we can enforce and keep all these people that are coming to our shores protected and safe, then they will stop coming. This brand that we are working so tirelessly to build, and this tourism product, will all be for nothing if we keep going down this path and not being able to implement this bill, you know? So it is something that we really have to drive, and I am willing to go foot to foot behind the chief sec. Anytime he say, hey, we're going to march, we're going to march. It doesn't matter when or how, whatever the chief sec say we're going to do, it's time enough. It's time enough. It is time enough that we get this done, and this has to be the THA that get this done, this autonomy bill. It has to be the THA. The answer is simply, it's uncomfortable and devastating. We lost our competitive edge. We lose visitor confidence. We lose revenue. We lose our reputation. And ultimately, we lose jobs. The same jobs that we are looking to create, we lose it. That is the reputational risk we must confront. In today's world, travelers are more informed than ever. They are choosing destinations that demonstrate environmental responsibility. They are seeking eco-friendly, warm, hospitable interactions, sustainable experiences in safe environments. Tobago has the potential to lead in this space, but only if we act decisively. Marine parks, when properly managed, become powerful assets in strengthening our tourism product. They create structure, high-quality experience for diving, snorkeling, gas bottom boat tours, water sports, and environmental education. They attract a higher value visitor, one who spends more, stay longer, and respect the environment. They open doors for community-based tourism. Think local guides, small businesses, craft and sweet vendors, and service providers. They all benefit. Mr. Presiding Officer, this is not theory. Around the world and even in parts of our own region, community surrounding well-managed, well-regulated marine parks have experienced economic uplift. Small businesses emerge, youth find employment opportunities, community develop pride in protecting what they have. And that is the model we must develop and pursue. But let me just stop to caution us. This will not happen automatically or overnight. Managing it effectively is where the real work begins. If we get this wrong, if we fail to consult, if we fail to enforce, Mr. Presiding Officer, if we fail to enforce, if we fail to support those affected, then we run the risk of creating division instead of development. Fisher folks may feel excluded, reef boat and watercraft operators may feel ignored, communities may feel marginalized, and the very policy meant to protect could instead create resistance. That is why this bill must be implemented with people at its center. We must ensure meaningful consultation, not as formality, but as a foundation. We must involve fisher folks and other tourism operators in decision-making processes, monitoring, management, and regulation. We must provide training and alternative opportunities where necessary. Whether in ecotourism, marine services, or conservation rules, we must ensure that enforcement is fair, transparent, and consistent. Mr. Presiding Officer, this is where leadership matters. Because what we are really doing here is shifting how Tobago manages its natural resources from open access and gradual decline to structured use and long-term sustainability. And that requires courage. It requires us to say that while we respect tradition, we must also adapt to reality. It requires us to balance livelihood with longevity. It requires us to think, not just as individuals, but as stewards and of a shared inheritance. I stand here today as someone who understands both sides of the equation. I understand the fisherman who is worried about feeding his family tomorrow, and I understand the responsibility we carry as policymakers to ensure there is still a fishery 10 years from now. Those two realities are not in conflict if we manage properly. Mr. Presiding Officer, the bill gives us the framework to do just that. It gives us the opportunity to protect our marine ecosystem, strengthen our tourism product, support our communities, and safeguard our natural reputation. But legislation alone is not enough. We must commit to doing this right. We must commit to transparency. We must commit to inclusion. We must commit to accountability across the board. Because the people of Bon Accord, Crown Point, and Tobago are not asking to be left out. They are asking to be brought in. And if we bring them in, if we make them partners instead of bystanders, then these marine parks will not just succeed, they will thrive. Mr. Presiding Officer, I return to where I started, to Bon Accord, Crown Point, to the beaches, to the life that shaped me, the seed that gave us, it sustained us, it defined us. Now it is our responsibility to protect it and those who use it. Not for just ourselves, but for those generations who will come after us. Let this bill be more than just a policy. Let it be a commitment to balance, to sustainability, and to shape prosperity. With my eyes closed and following my team members and my Chief Secretary, I support it, I look forward to it, and I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Presiding Officer.
Member for Signal Patience, excuse me, you may now join the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. I wish to invoke Standing Order 42-7. Roll your clock. Honorable Chief Secretary Fali Chavez Agustin, my fellow secretaries and assistant secretaries, members in the Waving Gallery, those who are viewing, and of course, to my lovely district of St. Helena Patience. I want to offer you all love because you all have given me love. That's what I'm here for today. Mr. Presiding Officer, I rise with great conviction to lend my support in the establishment of this Tobago Marine Park Bill. I believe this bill is long overdue and make it abundantly clear that policy without law will not deliver the protection, safety and security, and sustainability of a developing Tobago. And so, while I support this well-constituted bill, I, being a former law enforcement officer, I urge this honorable chamber to let us not create a bill that looks impressive on paper, but to protect one of our greatest natural resources and to provide safety and security for all stakeholders and visitors of the Marine Park. Mr. Presiding Officer, it will be remiss of me not to revisit, even briefly, the contribution I made in this assembly last month when I addressed the responsibilities of my previous portfolio as the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development, where I underscored the increasing pressure being placed on that ecosystem from unregulated activities to inadequate oversight. I cautioned then that if these behaviors are allowed to continue unchecked, they will erode the very foundation of our ecological tourism, our assets, and international reputation. Regrettably, we experienced a tragic loss of a young Angela Jogi, an incident that shook our nation. To the family and friends of Angelica, I wish to extend sincere, my heartfelt condolences. I know that no words can fill the void they are left by passing, and that the grief of this nature does not diminish within time. It only changes the shape. My colleagues, we must ensure that our systems, standards, and safeguards are strengthened so that every resident and visitor can experience our marine space with safety and feeling secure. Mr. Presiding Officer, I wish to highlight three critical pillars. First, the formal designation and legal recognition of the marine park boundaries. The spatial parameters must be defined and publicly communicated. Secondly, the establishment of clear, enforceable regulatory and administrative standards within our marine space. We cannot continue to rely on goodwill and informal arrangements. It is time that we require all operators within the marine area to go through a comprehensive permit system in order to capture proper data and to establish the amount of persons that uses the marine park on a daily basis. This system should categorize operators based on the nature and scale of the activities. For example, the glass bottom boats, or water sports providers, and all other users of the park. With a prerequisite to carry insurance coverage, specifically coverage for accidental bodily injury and accidental damage to property arising out of the marine activities. Mr. Presiding Officer, I propose that the Tobago House of Assembly require mandatory certification and training for employees of all permit holders. Safety protocols, basic emergency response training, and customer service management must be embedded into this process. The safety of both operators and visitors can be left to chance and business as usual. We must enforce international standards into our marine tourist industry to remain competitive. Thirdly, Mr. Presiding Officer, codification or conservation principles, including the protection of biodiversity and preservation of heritage values and regulation of human activity, particularly as it relates to the use of the Buccoo Reef Marine Park boundaries. This bill must speak clearly to what is permissible. What is prohibited is what consequences follows from violations. I strongly advocate for enhanced safety and security standards with firm mechanisms for the suspension or revocation of permits for operators who breached the regulations governing this park. Public sensitization is equally important. A sustained public education campaign must be undertaken, targeting users of our marine park on responsible usage, environmental preservation, and personal safety. This education must be visible at all ports of entry, in our schools, and social media platforms. Mr. Presiding Officer, the stakeholders of the marine park may feel that they are being unfairly targeted, and I understand their concerns. However, the Tobago House of Assembly must instill measures of law and order for the protection, accountability, sustainability, which will create a positive visitor experience in the marine park. Therefore, I appeal to our immediate stakeholders not to view this as a restriction, but as necessary steps towards preserving your industry, and I will add our industry, by securing income and ensuring future generations can benefit from these same natural treasures we currently enjoy. Mr. Presiding Officer, I recommend the revitalization of the Buccoo Reef Marine Park Committee as a co-management entity. This body will be empowered to undertake a comprehensive review of the existing Buccoo Reef user policy and lead meaningful public consultations. Through this process, the committee should make recommendations aimed at 1, strengthening ecosystem conservation measures, 2, updating and modernizing the Buccoo Reef Marine Park Management Plan, 3, designing a structural public outreach and education program, 4, developing a sustainable coastal catchment plan, and 5, and elevating the park operations to meet international ecotourism standards. Mr. Presiding Officer, the purpose of the Marine Park Bill is to establish a structured framework for effective management and operation of the marine park, ensuring that environmental protection, economic opportunities, and public safety coexisting in harmony. But achieving this requires more than legislative intent. It requires action, coordination, resources, enforcement, and mainly safety precautions for users and stakeholders of the marine park. Mr. Presiding Officer, we must also develop and enforce safety standards for all vessels operating within the marine park. Standards relating to vessels' seaworthiness, passengers' capacity, life-saving equipment, for example, life jackets for all passengers, communication devices, and other emergency protocols. These standards must be developed in consultation with the Maritime Services Unit, the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and all other law enforcement agencies that we see fit. And also, we must do this within the Division of Environment, Climate Resilience, and Energy, which is being spearheaded by my colleague, my good friend, Assemblymember Darren Henry. I remember last sitting, I called him Tarzan, where I told him that he was king of the jungle. Now I will call him Aquaman. He will be king of the seas and will protect our marine park for us. Okay? And also, this bill must be supported, of course, by all other executive members. This collaboration will strengthen marine patrols, integrate surveillance, and enhance border awareness, safeguarding our ecotourism assets and deter illicit marine activities. With the establishment of this bill, precept officers will be able to prefer charges against all defaulters. The bill will also serve as a measure to enhance Tobago security and safety for all users of the marine park. Mr. Presiding Officer, as I draw my contribution to a close, I want to return to where I began in support of this motion. The Tobago Marine Park Bill goes beyond policy aspiration and into a realm of enforceable, sustained governance that will be continuously strengthened. Mr. Presiding Officer, while serving in the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development during my previous term, I am privileged to say that I was part of the team that helped create the policy that we tried to enforce, but we didn't get the teeth to do the charges that we wanted to do. And it hurt me for this day to hear that we had a previous Prime Minister, that is a Tobagonian, who had that bill in front of him. And for God knows what he did with it, we don't know. But for today, we have our Chief Secretary by the name of Farley Chavez Augustine, who is leading this team, who is leading this executive into getting this bill passed, one that I had cried for over my last term. Now, our Chief Secretary have a good friend in Port of Spain that is revising the bill, and we are going to get it passed. I'm saying that to say this, that all my hard work during the past 4 years was not done in vain. And I want to piggyback on something that my colleague said a while ago. The Chief Secretary placed me here for a reason. He saw me with a guy who has passion for law enforcement. He saw me as a guy who hated to see unlawfulness. He saw me as a guy who is well disciplined. Yes, I may be grounded and like to enjoy myself, not as a zessa, but I do enjoy myself. But when it comes to law enforcement, I have a passion for it. So, Chief Secretary, I thank you for the position you placed me for today, but I'm awaiting and further things. Let this bill be the beginning of action. Let it be more than words on paper. Let it be the living, enforceable expression of commitment towards making Tobago the greatest liquor island on this planet. Mr. Presiding Officer, I, Assembly Member, Nigel Tate, remain committed to serving the people of Tobago and Trinidad with dedication, integrity, purpose, and most of all, I want to share love for each and every one. I thank you, and may God bless all of us as we go forward towards getting this bill passed. Thank you.
Honorable Chief Secretary, Assembly Member for Palliative Violence and Speyside. You may now wrap up the debate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Presiding Officer. That's fine. Put on. All right. I think it come from this. Mr. Presiding Officer, thank you very much. Thank you very much to my colleague for Signal Hill Patience Hill, as well as my other colleagues who joined the debate today and contributed. As we wrap up this debate, there are a couple of observations. Firstly, Councillor Joseph Wallace, in delineating the difference between responsibility and authority, and brought us face to face with a reckoning truth, which is that we may very much be in a worse legal position than we were in the 1700s. And that is a sad reality, because in the 1700s, people that look like us in this chamber had no way of coming into this chamber to make laws for the island. And yet somehow that era presented a far superior legal position, legal and political position for the island of Tobago. And that strengthens our resolve to have this fixed, this issue fixed. But more than that, you know, I was looking down on the task of us passing this bill under Section 29 of the Act, and thinking of it from the perspective that this is just us again begging somebody else to give us the authority. But the councillor gave me another perspective, because sometimes some of us will look at the glass half full, half empty, and some look at it half full. She chose to look at it half full and seeing it as a brick, as a stepping stone to the autonomy that we want. Because the reality is, this bill could potentially be the first time in our history something this substantive comes out of Section 29. And that's an important note, that this Act 40 of 1996, and we have had the Assembly Police, nothing came out of that. We have had this Marine Park Bill, nothing came out of that in 2020. And to finally get this on what I'm hoping is the twilight years of Act 40 of 1996, I guess it's better late than never. I also acknowledge the representation made for the electoral districts that are closely and closest aligned to the Boku Reef Marine Park. And that is to the member for Boku Mount Pleasant and the member for Bonaccord Crown Point. And I appreciate Boku Mount Pleasant, who drew parallel to what happens on our roads. We can't just say, well, you have a democratic right, go drive a car. We have rules. There is an age limit, well, an age specification, not a limit. You can't drink and drive. There are speeding limits. Your car must be roadworthy. You have seat belts. You have to have insurance. And based on the type of the vehicle, the rules or the regulations change. So if it is we are that careful on the roads, and we still can't mitigate 100% from the risk of accidents, because life happens, accidents happen. But if we have all these rules on the roadway, why are we not, by parallel reasoning, having similar rules and regulations on our waterways, so as to protect life, protect limb, and ensure that those who operate in this space can in fact continue to earn? And that's an important point. I want them, youth men down in Strawberry, to know that we are not the antidote to them becoming rich. What we want to do is to protect the very industry that they are earning from. And if we leave them to their own devices and vices, we will end up in a space where we will not earn from that area. Pigeon Point is perhaps the most photographed beach in the entire Caribbean. It is iconic. I mean, it is undeniably the most Caribbean-esque type landscape with the thatch roof shed on the jetty. Unmistakable, undeniable. But if we're not careful, we will lose that. And then for the member for Bonaccord Crown Point, I love how you shared your personal experience, your lived experience. And I wondered while you spoke, if today, if I am to go through the same path you took when you used to ply the trade there, if I would be able to go down a computer with a big starfish so that easily, or whether you could still boast about the quality of the reef now as you did then. And because you can't, it means that your earning capacity has also diminished. Because there's a symbiotic relationship between the environment and your ability to earn from it. And so this piece of legislation, which is steeped in conservation, in protecting the environment, is to also ensure that those your junior, those who you left behind in that trade, that they continue to earn as well. The member for Bethel New Grange, I appreciate the wealth of experience you bring to this team, because you have been in conservation for all of your adult career life. And you have transitioned from the public service on the establishment to being in public service via being elected into this house. And from your presentation, you were able to get the historical antecedent to what happened at the Buku Reef Marine Park, how many years we have been trying to protect this area and ensuring that it remains valuable to the people of Tobago, and why it is absolutely necessary. Even when we were going through the bills before coming to the house, you were the one that pointed out that the penalties, the fines that were initially assigned, when we compare it to other environmental laws, these were woefully inadequate. And I'm happy for that intervention, because fines must serve as a deterrent. It may not stop it altogether, but it must serve as a deterrent. The question we must ask is, what is the cost for life? Is 100,000 the worth of a 7-year-old? Or is it more than that? And I don't think we could put an actual
Thank you. Continue.
I thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. The point I was just making is, we can't put a value on life. And if persons wish to operate in a manner that can result in death, then the penalties must reflect the gravity of such a risk. And so I thank you for that intervention. And of course, Representative Signal Hill, Patience Hill, brought his experience in security, national security, to bear. I am sure from his experience, from his former posting over at the Division of Food Security to now, he has seen the challenges that our reef patrol operators undergo. You're talking about reef patrol operators that feel as though they can't talk to anybody out there. That when they try to correct them, people threaten them. People say to them, I will shoot out my fish gun. People pull a blade out, the fishing blade out. Unwilling to take correction. But this law fixes that. Because this law doesn't only put penalties, but it empowers the reef patrolman, the Coast Guard, the TTPS. In fact, anybody that will be designated an inspector through the regulations set out by the Executive Council and the Secretary, the Line Secretary, will ensure that they are empowered to not just talk to somebody, but have somebody dragged before the court. This legislation ensures that when people are errant in their behavior and insistent on being errant in their behavior, that their vessels can be removed from the park so as to avoid the loss of lives. I have seen, you will see sometimes, and I don't want to target anybody specifically, but go and check and see who boat always sinking in the reef, the park. Go and check and see who boats always sinking. Go and check and see who always getting into an accident. And I'm certain that the same culprits keep popping up over and over again. But as we bring this part of the procedure to a close, you know what is interesting? Today's date, the 23rd of April, would have been the young lady's 8th birthday. So we are actually sitting on a day when this child and her parents should have been celebrating the 8th birthday. They should have been celebrated. In fact, this was their pre-birthday celebration because school was going to occur during the birthday. They offered the children to go other places in the world, but the children wanted Tobago because Tobago to them represented fun, joy, peace, love, beauty, unmatched, unparalleled. And unfortunately, what was supposed to be a heavenly experience has turned out to be hellish for a family. But not only them. I recalled earlier in the debate the others who died in the park by drowning or who got injured either through jet skis or through the use of other crafts. Things that we just have to regulate, that we have to treat with. It can't be that you could operate in the park at decibel levels to the extent that when someone is calling out for help, they cannot be heard. They cannot be heard. That you can't see. We had a drowning incident. And what happened is, while the operator of the boat was grilling fish, the group that used the boat, they brought their own DJs on board. So not even the operator of the vessel that brought the DJ, they brought their own music and DJ, the lineman, the vessel drifting, going out while he grilling fish. One person see the boat far, far and panic and not realizing that while in the Nylon Pool is shallow, that there are areas outside of the boundaries of the Nylon Pool that's not so shallow. And in panicking and deciding I need to get back to the boat because I'm in the middle of the ocean, middle of nowhere, drowned. And then as the boat operator realized what's happening and trying to back up, propeller damage another one. And I'm saying we have to be much more conscious about how we protect lives on the island, not just in this area. When we take people for tours in the rainforest, when we take them on excursions out to Little Tobago, when we take them to see our forts and our waterfalls, we have to do more in providing protection. And it's not just the private operators, but the THA has to also do more. And this is the government of the island actually doing more. It means that we have to start to look at getting lifeguards in by our waterfalls. Doing more means that we have to start to regulate other popular sites beyond the Boku Reef Marine Park. I saw when we had Woody Meyer here, very popular influencer. And Woody Meyer went up to space and I never shamed so yet. I watching the video, Mr. Presiding Officer. They had this gentleman on the boat. Boat breakdown, engine working. They on the boat with the gentleman. Weed, cock up in ears, weed in mouth, right? Insufficient life jackets. And this is an influencer whose reach is beyond any post the most popular of us in this house has. Right there, my own community, because it's is largely unregulated. If we are to maximize our earning capacity, we have to manage this sector. And regulations, it starts today with the Boku Reef Marine Park, but we have to regulate how the hotels operate, how our restaurants operate. We have to grade them, we have to check up on them. All of our parks, those on land, those in the sea, our tour guides, it is our duty and our responsibility. And no, rules and having rules doesn't make you a dictator. If democracy is not managed, we will have anarchy, we will have chaos. The center will not hold, it will fall apart. And so there is a requirement of a responsible government to do this. So though we do not have the authority, we have responsibility. And we today are taking charge of our responsibility, and we're discharging such responsibility in accordance to Section 29 of Act 40 of 1996. I thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer, and I look forward to us moving into the committee stage for this bill. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, the question put is that this bill entitled An Assembly Law to Make Provisions for the Establishment and Regulation of Marine Parks in Tobago and Other Related Matters be read a second time. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The bill will now be read a second time.
Bill entitled An Assembly Law to Make Provision for the Establishment and Regulation of Marine Parks in Tobago and Other Related Matters.
Honorable Chief Secretary.
Forgive me, Mr. Presiding Officer, because this is novel to me. So I'm just being extra judicious, extra careful, lest I make a penny misstep in this house, a procedural misstep in this house, and renders the bill illegal. So I believe at this stage, I should request of you that we move this bill into the committee stage, as a committee of the whole, to examine the bill clause by clause and to examine potential amendments to bill. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, in accordance with Standing Order 61, I beg to move that the bill entitled An Assembly Law to Make Provision for the Establishment and the Regulation of Marine Parks in Tobago and Other Related Matters be committed to the Committee of the Whole to be considered clause by clause.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill entitled An Assembly Law to Make Provisions for the Establishment and Regulation of Marine Parks in Tobago and Other Related Matters be committed to the Committee of the Whole to be considered clause by clause. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. The ayes have it. This assembly will now proceed to the Committee of the Whole Assembly to consider the bill clause by clause. Cameras turned down and visitors in the gallery are kindly asked to leave the chambers.
Look Alive Tobago. A special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago. A special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look Alive Tobago, a special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. alive, Tobago. A special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look alive, Tobago. A special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it. Look alive, Tobago. A special sitting of the Tobago House of Assembly is being convened to introduce the Tobago Marine Parks Bill 2026. This very important document is the first step in defining how the island's marine spaces will be used for the safety and benefit of everyone. Thursday, 23rd April, from 10 a.m., we head to the People's House. You can come in or tune in. Either way, don't miss it.